to fill out what's called a summons form. And you'll notice it says United States District Court, District of. All right, well, this would be, say, let's say, Eastern District of Missouri. Okay? In other words, that's the court you're going to park it in. Then it has the case name. Let's say you have 5 defendants. The name of the first defendant goes right here with et al. In other words, and all the rest of these characters. And then versus, and then, for example, well, no, actually, this is the plaintiff here. That's you. If you have multiple plaintiffs, it's et al. Other than that, your name goes here. Right down here, you're going to have the first defendant, and if there's more than one defendant, it will say et al. Then it has right down here, this is the individual defendant that you're going to address this to. In other words, if you have 5 defendants, well, and this is going to the 4th one, you have to put the name and address of the 4th defendant right here. Right down here, what you're going to do is, it says plaintiff's attorney, but if you're pro se, you just put your own name and the number of days that they have to answer. If you have a federal defendant, they have 60 days. A state defendant, they have 20. And then the clerk fills out the rest of the stuff and stamps it. And then all you do is, once you have this filled out, you take it with the complaint, which I'm going to show you how to draw, and you find a process server. And the process server fills out the back, normally returns it to you, and then you just file it, because once you have filed a lawsuit or a complaint, you don't really have anything going in a civil case until the other party has been notified. Now, the third thing that we're going to cover here is what are called, let's see, service of process. Okay. Now, the next thing, or the third thing we're going to cover, is the complaint. And a complaint, actually, there's nothing to it. It has 5 or 6 major parts, depending on what you want to cover, sometimes 7. The first is there will be the caption. That's where you have United States District Court, Eastern District of Missouri, and then you have your name versus names of all defendants. To the right, it'll say, for example, civil number. You will not get that number till you file this puppy. Underneath that, you're going to have a line. Now, everything from the line up has no legal significance other than to show the court clerk where to park the paperwork when it comes in. Then the next thing, and this is optional, and this is something you fellas absolutely have to learn. Even if you get a judge who's doing the job, you can't go on and on and on with a 300-page single-spaced complaint, because nobody's going to read it. Plus, there's a rule of civil procedure that says you can't do that anyway. Statement of the case. And this is something I want you to think about when you start filling up these boxes. The statement of the case, you want to get somebody's attention, it needs to be 50 words or less. If you can't summarize what your problem is in 50 words or less under statement of the case, and this is optional, then you simply don't have the ability to get this thing through the court system. Because remember this, that even with a judge who's doing his job, and I'm going to teach you how to make them do their jobs, be a new experience for most of you, okay? Even if you have a judge who's doing his job, he's got 500 other cases. He doesn't have 3 days to spend reading about your problems. He needs to keep this thing going. So if you can summarize what you're doing, that'll show you exactly what kind of a case it is. The second thing you have to have is called jurisdiction. Now, every state and the federal courts have what they call jurisdictional statutes. In other words, you cannot park a federal civil rights action in a state, well, I'm sorry, you can do that. You can do that in a state civil court. You can't park a federal civil rights action in a federal bankruptcy court. They'll throw it right back out on you. You cannot park the fact that your neighbor has an ugly dog in federal court. It's not even a cause of action in state court. Federal courts, for example, are courts of limited jurisdiction. Now, the jurisdictional statutes I gave you earlier are, for example, Title 42, Section 1983. Title 42 is Public Health and Welfare. Title 28, Section 1331, the General Federal Question Statute. And you'll find the jurisdictional statutes. Basically, under the jurisdiction statutes, you're saying, okay, this is the reason that I have, here's the statute enacted by Congress that allows me to park this type of case in this court. And you're going to find the jurisdictional, I'll give you a really good one here, and I want you all to write this one down. This is one of my favorites. Title 28, section, wrap it up, okay, 1367, in parentheses, paragraph A, this is known as the pendant jurisdiction statute, and it works like this. if you have a federal cause of action against somebody and you also have a state cause of action, you don't have to put them in two separate courts. You park the federal cause of action in the federal court, and under the pendant jurisdiction statute, if it's the same set of facts and the same parties, but it's a state cause of action, you park it in federal court right underneath. Gentlemen, Chappie told me to wrap it up here. So what we're going to do is, what time are they coming back, Chappie?
Okay, is this on T-Bone? Okay, this is what we're going to do. It's 25 after. This call out is over in 5 minutes. Let me give some closing instructions here. What we'll do, we'll take each section at a time, starting with to Michael's left, single file, come over, he'll give you the book, and then you follow out the door, then the next section, the next section, next section. Go out. Okay, hold up a minute, hold up guys, hold up a minute, we're not ready yet. Just squat a minute. After you get your book, then just file out, then as soon as main line, 12:30 call out, be right back over here for session 2. And then each session, get your book, file out, after main line, right back over here for the second session. Some of the things, and them 2 boxes sitting there in front, I want to clarify this so you'll know what to do. While you guys are at chow, be thinking about some questions, either your particular case questions that you want Michael to address. If it pertains to your particular case, which box is that, Michael? The case questions.
These are their case and this is course questions.
Yes. Any questions on your particular case goes in that box on the left. Any questions based on the seminar material go in the right, and then he'll address them in the afternoon or the evening session. That's one announcement. A few things that I made notice to myself, just general principles. Listen up, guys. Listen up, please. A few things that I noticed that I want to reiterate as your chaplain here that jumped out at me that I think you guys really need to run with and kick while you are in mainline. Fighting in formation, that hit me. That football wedge thing. Fighting in unity, that hit me. Fighting as one, that hit me. Next month we're having Black History Week, Black History Month in here. Our theme is social unity. I think that's a good, our theme of social unity in Black History Month well, it's actually this month and into next month, will be something that you're going to really kick on. How does all of you brothers in here fight in formation as one instead of all this division? This group against that group against this group. You ain't going to get nothing done that way. I think you just need to talk about that. That's the first thing jumped at me. The second thing that jumped out at me was the principle of sowing and reaping. He said, fight for somebody else's case, and somebody else will fight for you. That jumped out at me. Because most of us, a lot of times, are selfish. Man, I got all day. Man, I ain't got no time to worry about you. No. If we get over in that law library and work on somebody else's case, then we're planting seeds for somebody then to help us. That jumped out at me. Another thing he said, learn to think as one. In other words, thinking as one group. Not, well, I got my issues and you got your issues and the twain will never meet. No. United, we stand on this thing. Divided, we'll fall. So this theme of unity kept coming up, and it's something we all know anyway. The next thing he says, you all have a common gripe, he said, which is corruptions in the court. Again, this theme of commonality and oneness and unity kept jumping out at me in everything he said. The next one he said, connection between Roe versus Wade and homicide. For those of you that are not familiar with Roe versus Wade, that's the law passed down the Supreme Court in 1973 that says abortion was legal, yet that's not in the Constitution. There ain't nothing in the Constitution about killing unborn babies. And like he said, if people will sit on a jury that have had abortions and will kill their own children, which makes you think they're going to cut you some slack? Think about that. That hit me. The next one, read the case. Read it up close and read it often. Read for principles, not who won or lost. I never thought about that. But that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. If you go in that law library and read it, and not just read sections of it, because it's the same with theology. If you take a Bible, a Quran, or anything else, and read one verse without reading the whole context, a text out of context is a pretext. So you got to read, and then read some more, which means you got to educate yourself, which means if you don't have your GED, get over in that school or get over in this church here, that reading class, and upgrade your reading and writing skills, because if you ain't willing to work, you ain't got nothing coming. Let me need another one. You are all in school. You all have real cases, he said. And that's true. This ain't none of this law school, ain't none of this court TV. This is all the sure enough, which means every one of you brothers in here got something real to work on. That is, man, this time is real you're doing, and this time is because you got a real case, which means you got something real to work from. This ain't court TV. This ain't Hollywood. The other thing he said, 2 constitutions. This jumped out at me. The real Constitution, which the founders wrote, the original, which was based on absolutes, thou shalt not. Shall mean shall don't mean maybe. Versus this relative mess of reinterpretation and judicial activism, which we have today, where instead of these judges reading, simply interpreting what the founders said and saying, this is what it says, therefore this is what it means. No, you got rascals today say, well, we know they said it 200 years ago, but they dead and stinking, so we gonna reinterpret it to mean something else. So that's why we got a mess. That's the root of corruption. You cannot change what something was set in stone. What them folks meant when they wrote it is what they mean. And then the last one here, he says, this thing's a chess game. You got the facts, not opinions. Like he was saying, opinion is, man, I got railroaded. A fact is, man, in 50 words or less, what happened? Where did it happen? Who did it happen to? Why did it happen? And how did it happen? Then he said the law, that's the pieces on the thing. That's where you get in that law library and find them statutes. And then the procedure. How do you take the facts of what happened and the law, the statutes, and then procedure, which is the real ball of wax. How do you put it all together to get through the maze? And then the final one, statement of the case, a summary of the case in 50 words or less. If you brothers cannot learn how to write cogently and intelligently in 50 words or less the facts, you ain't ready yet. Which means I keep getting education, because I'm convinced that ain't one of yous in here, I don't know if you got 5 like in 50s running bow again. Ain't one of yous in here can't figure a way to get up out this place. But you go out to work. So I made 10 things that he said jumped out at me. And in each session, I'll build that. Mike, if possible, in your second and third session, because the second session is a half hour longer. It'll run from 12:30 to about 3, well, till 3. So you may want to, within the sessions, break it up for questions and answers, because otherwise the guys will zonk on you. It's too, just talking, and then it'll give you a break too to let them ask you some questions or answer some questions at the box. Okay, so guys, with that said, first section, come and get your books and file out. Second session, third session, catch you guys after chow. God bless you.
United States Post Office, Poquag, New York. Franklin is handicapped. I'm handicapped too, I'm married. It's all a chat with Glendora. Probably about $50 worth of postage. Waka. And that's what it costs, folks. Just under $50. And this is the day that the postage went up. And guess what? What we used to mail for $1.33 is now 8 cents more, 9 cents more. So the box is empty, and so is Franklin's wallet. Bank and a supermarket with great hours are open until 7 p.m. What's your name?
Martin McGreevy.
Martin McGreevy?
Yes.
And he watches a chat with Glendora?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. What town do you folks live in?
Patterson.
In Patterson?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Hello, Martin McGreevy. It's Glendora and Franklin saying hi to you.
Yes, we enjoy watching your show.
You want to hear today's joke?
Yes, what's today's joke?
A woman put an ad in the newspaper for her husband, and she got 100 replies, and they all said the same thing. You can have mine.
Very, very good. I like that. Very good.
Take care.
Okay, you too.
That's nice. Folks, we're coming over Route 55, and here was a beautiful animal, a huge deer at the side of the road. Oh, and everybody driving by and not caring a whit about him and not taking care of him. He must have been dead. Usually I stop and take animals out of the road that have been brutalized. States Post Office, Polkwig. He signed the application for down what I heard about the Third Circuit, what I heard to write down. It's about 2-3 hours this afternoon, and they're really getting it, and they really deserve it. The Third Circuit doesn't want me to file any more complaints against judges. They want to take away my right to do that. I hope I never have to go to the Third Circuit. It's a great paper. It's Opus 917. I look forward to reading it to you. It's not due until the 18th, and I'll try to read it to you, but it is a great work. I have to stop now pretty soon and tell you some jokes. I gotta get dressed up and appear on camera dressed up. Can't go on camera not dressed up, right? Chewing gum, can't do that. This is at the laundromat at 7:45 a.m. on a Sunday morning.
Well, it's nice to have them clean. Yes. Morning, how are you? Where'd you get all the nice food? That's good. The customer said to the waitress, "What kind of ice cream do you have?" And she said, "Vanilla chocolate and strawberry." And he said, "You sound hoarse. Do you have laryngitis?" And she says, "No, just vanilla chocolate and strawberry."
Okay, the trusty copy machine, Canon copy machine P25, I think. By the way, that cost $300, and Staples has a P28 for $128 for $200. Anyhow, it's copying Schofield, and I'm going to read that to you in a minute. First of all, the customer said to the waitress, "What kind of ice cream do you have?" And she said, "Vanilla chocolate and strawberry." And the customer said, "You sound hoarse. Do you have laryngitis?" She says, "No, just vanilla chocolate and strawberry." And what do report cards teach a parent? What do report cards teach a mother and father? You don't have to lift weights to raise a dumbbell. And why was the baby shoe crying? Why was the baby shoe crying? His mother was a sneak and his daddy was a loafer. Why does the mother call her son Hallie? Hallie's Comet. Why? Because he only comes around once every 71 years. A lady in a taxi said to the driver, "Could you back up 2 miles, driver?" And the driver says, "Why?" He says, "I don't have enough money to pay for this." A woman walking down the sidewalk looked in the haberdashery store, looked into the window, and she saw a sign that said, "Sale on shirts for men with 15 to 16 necks." And she said to her friend, "That's too many necks for a man to have." And the honeymoon couple came back, and he said, "Now, dear, we have to settle down to business. Do you want to be president or vice president?" And she said, "You can be both. I'll just be the treasurer." The teacher said, "How do you spell Rose?" And the little boy said, B-R-O-S-E. And teacher said, "There's no B in Rose." And the little boy says, "There was in the one I smelled." Did you hear about the man who called up the newspaper editor? And he said, "You have my obituary in the newspaper and I'm still alive." And the editor was genuinely sorry. And he sincerely looked for a correction. And he says, "I know what we can do." He says, "Tomorrow we'll print you in the birth column." And the mother left her little 10-year-old girl in the room with two older ladies. The mother asked the two older ladies just to watch the little girl while she went and did a 10-minute errand. And as the two little old ladies sat there and looking at the little girl, one of the little old ladies said, "Well, she's not very P-R-E-T-T-Y, is she?" And the little girl says, "No, but S-M-A-R-T. This is Glendora, a chat with Glendora." And next we'll have to read you the Schofield paper. Appendix, complaint form. Judicial Council of the Fourth Circuit, Atlanta. Complaint against judicial officer under Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 372, C. Introductions. All questions on this form must be answered. A separate complaint form must be filled out for each judicial officer complained against. Submit the correct number of copies of this form and the statement of facts. Court of Appeals judge, original and 3. A district court judge. A district court judge or a magistrate judge, and that's what this one is, original and 4 copies. Service on the judicial officer shall be made by the clerk's office, if you can trust that. Mail this form, the statement of facts, and the appropriate number of copies to the clerk, United States Court of Appeals, United States Courthouse, 1100 East Main Street, Richmond, Virginia, 23219. Complainant's name, Glendora, a chat with Glendora, Box 69, Hopewell, New York, 12533, 914-949-9495. Judge or magistrate judge complained about. Name, E. Clayton Schofield the Third. One of them is bad enough. We don't need 3. Does this complaint concern the behavior of the judge or magistrate judge in a particular lawsuit or lawsuits? Yes, and it was a very particular lawsuit. If yes, give the following information about the lawsuit. The court was the United States District Court, Atlanta. And I've got to put in the docket number here on 14 sets. Did a lawyer represent you? No! Lawyers are no good. They get worse when they peek out of black robes. Have you previously filed any complaints of judicial misconduct or disability against any judge or magistrate judge? Yes. If yes, give the docket number of each complaint. Circa 57 of them. Please look them up in Pacer. Box and sign the form. You do not need a notary public if you check this box. I declare under penalty of perjury that I have told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God, and that the statements made in this complaint and attached statement of facts are true and correct to the best of my knowledge. Signed, Glendora. Executed on, and I cross out the executed and said, not yet. December 2nd, 2002, Anno Domini. Service list and prayer list. The original and 4 copies to the clerk. Now folks, this is how you file a complaint in federal court against a federal judge, a federal district judge we're doing today. Well, actually, he's a magistrate. A magistrate is nothing but a teacher's helper. Okay, so the original and 4 to the clerk, 1 to Schofield, 1 to Patrick Leahy, who's the chairman of the Senate Judicial Committee, Meekum, Leonidas Ralph Meekum, who is the so-called administrator of the courts. This is the federal courts, House Judiciary, a matter of justice, you, Glendora TV audience, the Center for Judicial Accountability Incorporated, and George McDermott, and who to sue. And this is Opus 917, 6 hours and $13.60. The fact that E. Clayton Schofield III is not able to perform all of the duties of his office. Glendora has personal knowledge of the same, together with knowing his conduct is prejudicial to the effective and efficacious administration of the business of the courts. Those two are in the law. Not able to perform all the duties of his office, and conduct prejudicial to the effective and efficacious administration of the business of the courts. It is a fact that the business of the courts is justice. Schofield does not know this. This is a Title 18 United States Code, Section 372, parenthesis C, parenthesis 1, complaint, a judicial misconduct and disability complaint. These judges are always saying misconduct or disability. Well, in this case, it's both. Schofield does not know boy from girl. Glendora is not he. Glendora is she. Schofield keeps writing he or she. Glendora's picture with Bob Hope in the verified complaint ought to tell Schofield, boy or girl. Supra is a disability. Let me show you the Bob Hope pics. Boy or girl? Well, Schofield should know enough to eschew conclusories. He should know enough to substantiate his statements with law and facts. He does not prove his case. This is disability. He does not know that a magistrate cannot issue dispositive orders. That is, folks, an order that disposes of a case, that dismisses it, for instance. Here is an abbreviated list of a few other assets he does not know. The Constitution, the statutes, Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 636, about magistrates, Title 28 U.S. Code, Section 1915, about a poor person not having to pay a fee in a federal court. Inter alia, Schofield does not know that Glendora has a right to an Article III judge. That comes from the Constitution of the United States, folks. You have a right to a United States District Judge, and no clerk and no magistrate judge is a substitute. This nescience is disability. Bias is misconduct. Schofield is patently biased in favor of the rich. He abnegates the poor. More Schofield disability is that Glendora did not give her Title 28 U.S. Code Section 636 consent to have her case handled by a magistrate. You have to have the consent in writing. Glendora versus Friot is a courageous fight for right, but Schofield slithered his way out of it. Now, Glendora knows Wilkinson, Wilkinson, folks, is the chief judge of the Fourth Circuit in Richmond, and it is to the chief judge of the circuit court that these complaints go. Glendora knows that Wilkinson will, A, cover up Schofield's name, B, protect him, C, collude with him, D, claim that Glendora is basing her complaint on the merits of the so-called order, and that's reserved for appeals. In a misconduct complaint, they won't let you contest the decision, because that's up to the Court of Appeals. But Schofield does not adjure on the merits. There are no merits in his order. E, surrender to vice. Glendora can write Wilkinson's paper faster than his ghostwriter, amanuensis. Wilkinson, that's the chief judge, folks, renders the Title 28 U.S. Code 372C1 meaningless. Schofield does not do his job, nor will Wilkinson. Schofield does not act in good faith. His paper is frivolous. Morally, ethically, legally, and spiritually and mentally, Schofield is in an abyss. Glendora wants an affidavit from Wilkinson that he has read her 372 front to back in its entirety, that he understands it, and that his decision is on his own, nobody else's, and that he is not improperly influenced by self-interest. The 372 process has been turned into incest. The judges doing the judges, the judges doing the judging, are as bad as the judges being judged. This is Glendora's last page. The whole 372 process is truncated to 5 pages. Judges do not like to hear about bad judges. They do not like the mirror held up to them. It is Dorian Gray. The chief judges are accessories before the fact and accessories after the fact. The entire 372 process never ends with a bang, only a whimper. But it is all we have, and we will hold bravely and tenaciously to it until God's reaches your consciousness. The entire intent is to defeat justice. The courts are upside down. The design is knowingly, willfully, and deliberately impede the effective and efficacious administration of the business of the courts, which business is justice. Dated December the 2nd, year 2002, Anno Domini, yours in truth, Glendora. This is Franklin listening to his audio cassette. This is the audio cassette that he's listening to. Tom Brokaw, an album of memories. Now, we have to get this poor tree out of here, out of that corner, and get it over to here to the light. It's just not fair to the tree. That's his baby, or her baby. This Franklin 3. So, tell me how to do this, folks. How am I going to do this? Get that heavy tree over to here. Okay, folks, we did it. We did it. Do you like it? Here's the tree down in the sunlight. There's no sunlight, but someday when there's sunshine. And there's Franklin 3. Now down on the floor with the philodendron on the floor. It's very pretty. And there's the tree over in the light. Makes the room really bigger. It's good all around. What do you think, Kate? We're returning this Sony camcorder, $425. And on top of that, there are staples. Folks, did you hear about Office Max? Way up in the sky, they put a giant staple puller. I have to stay off camera. I look so old. Why do I look so old? I didn't used to look old. And I'm so fat. If Charles Dolan would do something nasty again, then I wouldn't have time to eat, and I'd lose weight again. This is the first legal paper of the day. It's to the greedy doctors, the people who make an industry out of those who are sick. That's, yesterday 7 legal papers got done. Filed paginate hours and dollars on each of these lawsuits. There's about 16 of them current. Judicial misconduct and disability complaint against Schofield, United States District Court, Atlanta, dismissing Glendora versus Friot. More dirty judge protection. A letter to Charles Dolan, worked on it some more, which I will read you. I will read you all these. 4 was telling the Second Circuit, don't you know you've been sued? Don't you know what to do when you've been sued? Don't you know how to handle a lawsuit? And the same to the Chief Judge of the Ninth Circuit, San Francisco, Schroeder. And the same to Patrick Fisher, the Chief Clerk in the 10th Circuit. And then Hansen in the 8th Circuit in St. Louis, telling me that I can't not name the judge whom I'm complaining about as to judicial misconduct and disability. So there's 7 legal papers yesterday, plus moving the tree into the sun. And you see, here's the trees getting sun for the first time since July. Poor tree. You did something for the tree, and it made the room so much better, too.
I think, as the jury knows, is an operation which controls and runs a skating rink in Temple Hills. A man named Andrew Moore was the controlling stockholder of CSM. He owned 81% of CSM, which in turn... You're asking me...
Your Honor, can the witness finish the question?
You may. Go ahead.
Mr. Moore, as I said, owned 81% of CSM. CSM owned and was the general partner of CSLP. It owned 50% of CSLP, but it was the general partner. Mr. Moore had been involved in a terrible automobile accident several years prior to 1994, which totally incapacitated him for a year. During that period of time, Mr. Moore had nothing to do with the skating rink, and and Mrs. McDermott and yourself occupied the skating rink and took over control of it. During early 1994,
Your Honor, may he finish the answer?
Excuse me, you asked him how he got there.
during early 1994, I'm a business consultant that specializes in the organization and certification of minority business enterprises, all of which are fairly small businesses. Mr. Bowie had been a client of mine, asked me if I would look at the situation involving CSM and CSLP, because Mr. Moore, who was Mr. Bowie's sister's next door neighbor, was getting all sorts of notices that they were foreclosing on his house because bank indebtedness hadn't been paid and he'd guaranteed the note. So I agreed to meet with Mr. Moore, and after meeting with him, I agreed to represent his interests and try to get the matter straightened out if I could. Thereafter, Mr. Moore, exercising his rights as the 81% stockholder, elected me as the Secretary-Treasurer and to the board of CSM. When I went in to start to exercise management prerogatives, which was in like September of '94, the organization was obvious that the reason that Mr. Moore was getting all these notices about foreclosing on his house was that large amounts of cash had been removed from the business over a period of time. And we moved, Mr. Bowie and I moved to stop the staunch of cash running out the front door and to put the thing on an even keel.
Mr. Bowie, Ms. Parker, are you aware of were the stockholders, to your knowledge, best of your knowledge, were the stockholders of CSLP notified of your
Skating rink. It's a skating rink.
Objection.
Go ahead, you can answer that one question. CSLP had no stockholders. It's a partnership.
were the partners notified?
Objection. Overruled. You may answer it.
I'm sure they were notified, yes. In fact, we tried to.
Okay. Mr.
This is McDermott versus Moore. Took away his
Are you
business.
aware of any agreement that was entered into prior to your appointment as a fiduciary officer that would transfer assets of CSLP to a newly formed company of yours?
Objection. Sustained. I'm here to try a $16,003.63 claim, and if you don't get some questions in that direction, I'll stop your question.
Could I have the just deny?
McDermott claims that that judge, Thomas Smith, is the brother-in-law of this defendant, Peter Parker. What do you think? This is McDermott.
Mr. Parker, would you please identify that document for me?
Please don't drag the exhibit across the microphone.
Back to the check. They're all by you, right?
No, they're not. The third one is definitely not my handwriting. And the other two are.
Okay. And for the record, could you state as a fiduciary officer, Crystal Skating of the partnership, at the time of these...
This is a voice-activated videotape. This is in lieu of a court stenographer.
Sustained.
This is how they did it in Maryland.
Okay. Earlier, Mr. Parker, earlier in your testimony, you made reference to Mr. Louis' sister. Okay?
Yes.
And in earlier testimony, in other matters, you attested that his sister is a next-door neighbor of Mr. Moore. Okay? Am I correct?
Mr. Bowie's sister was Mr. Moore's next-door neighbor.
That's fine. Do you have any personal knowledge remember the point you got, Your Honor?
No. Ask your next question relevant to this lawsuit.
McDermott asked to approach. Thomas Smith said no.
Mr. Bowie,
He's getting
Mr.
hot.
Parker.
Mr. Parker, did you not take those checks to Mr. Bowie's sister to have them in cash?
Objection sustained.
Hey, I want to know. Don't you folks? I want to know.
Okay, move on. Please indulgence.
Well, folks, it's beautiful. This is snowstorm number 4. It's beautiful, but it's a lot of work. We gotta go sweep off the cars. I just spent an hour on an omnibus lawsuit, number 14. It's almost as unmanageable as number 13 was. Number 13 has to be done over because of these lousy judges who turn their back on America and on you. And then I've got to go in and report to you all of the legal papers set up to videotape. I've eschewed being on camera long enough because it takes so much time to dress up and then set up to be on camera, so I've just been doing voiceovers. But I can't do that. I'll have to go back to being on camera. It's not fair to you. Esquire, Chaz Cancellari, Esquire, Barry Pittman, Esquire. Believe it or not, says Americans for Legal Reform, we do have a short list of good judges and lawyers, but we can't publish it. They will be chastised by the good old boys who like it the way it is. Telephones, 516-579-1943. Well, folks, it's been a long time since I've appeared on camera. Jim Burness says I look tired, but I guess I am tired, and I think I look old. And let's see, quite a few reports to make to you. Hello, Katie. And what is this? This is to the ravenous and rip-off and avaricious medical industry, which makes which takes advantage of people who are sick Instead of coming in and helping people who are sick, they make an industry out of them and pile up money and have great big machines, their toys, and wheel them from room to room. This is a book that Franklin just finished. It is by Tom Brokaw. It's an album of memories, personal histories from the greatest generation. And it's 6 1.5-hour cassettes. So that tells you that each side is 45 minutes, Franklin. A 17-year-old who enlisted in the Army in 1941 writes to describe the Bataan Death March. It's nice that he took people's letters and read them. Tom Brokaw, an album of memories. We'll send that back to the library. It's nifty, the way they package these cassettes. I first saw this in 1972 and 3, when the 3/4-inch cassette first came out. It was like this, like a book. They were the first to do it. What's that? Almost 30 years ago. This is the sporting news, the idiot sheet, that Franklin cannot read anymore. And so we give them to Rick Kalwarski, who's as afflicted or addicted to baseball as Franklin is. This is the story of George McDermott, one of the bravest people I ever knew, one of the hardest to work against the corruption of judges. This is his petition for writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States. It's been assigned to Chief Justice Rehnquist. His writing is superlative and is on the mark. On the mark. And what is the situation? He had a business, and it was stolen from him by a bunch of crooks. And the names of the crook are Andrew Clifford Moore and a man named Bowie, B-O-W-I-E, that should be pronounced Bowie, or Bowie, and a man named Peter Parker. And their liar for hire is a man named Harding. I have shown you clips from the videotape of the trial in Maryland. A terrible delineation of the Machiavellian moves of a judge named Thomas Smith, whom, or rather who, McDermott claims is the brother-in-law of the defendant. The defendant is Peter Parker. And Moore declared bankruptcy, and according to McDermott, and I will believe this, knowing how evil the bankruptcy court is, the federal bankruptcy court, manipulated insiders in the bankruptcy court, violated McDermott's due process outrageously, had secret meetings and made secret rulings, and violated the contract between the people of the United States and the federal bankruptcy court, And then McDermott went to the United States District Court. He did not get justice. He went to the state court. He went to the courts of appeal in Maryland. And he got justice nowhere. It's the same old story: corruption, apostasy, dishonesty, immorality, self-surrender to vice, openly and shamelessly disregarding the morals and ethics that we are supposed to live by. Viciousness. It's the same old vice. And so last spring he started writing his petition for writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court of the United States. And he says some very beautiful things in here. He says that petitioner, that's George E. McDermott, asserts that this bizarre odyssey started in September of 1988, approximately 11 months and some days after the respondent, that's Andrew Clifford Moore, attempted to buy into McDermott's corporation, asserting certain promises which were never legally fulfilled, in exchange for stock. This stock was to be held in escrow until complete fulfillment of the alleged contract. This fulfillment never occurred. As of this date, and that would be approximately October this year, there is no evidence, ever so slight, that corporate attorney Donald L. Noble, here's another bad actor, Donald L. Noble, ever released the stock to Moore less than 1 year after entering into the alleged contract. The debtor voluntarily, that would be Moore, filed for bankruptcy protection, as court records reflect. Beginning to get the picture a little bit. It takes a long time to get this picture because the intertwinings of Mephisto are so evil that it's hard to get the picture. But that is some of it. And I have shown you some of the videotape, and it's interesting in Maryland that this is a court record, because they do not have a court stenographer. They have replaced court stenographers, as court stenographers should have been years ago, with videotape. This is a voice-activated videotape, and I've shown you excerpts from it. I try to spend 15 minutes a day reading the McDermott case. He's another victim of the crooked bankruptcy court, just as William and Celeste Budrow are. To be continued. $10,000? Would you like $10,000? Now I want to report to you on another victim of abuse within the courts and the agencies and the government, and this is Ethan Book Jr. He knows a whole lot of things that happened as far as Bridgeport redevelopment went, and also ties to Enron way back, and also Wheelabrator and other misuse of government money. And Book was an officer for the Connecticut Bank and Trust Company, which folded. Anyway, before I go and tell you that, and Book was an officer of that bank, and he was given the job of looking over these loans to the city of Bridgeport to develop the city of Bridgeport. And he found many things that were questionable, and he did what he was supposed to do. He went to his superiors and he told them about him, and guess what happened? What? You're right. They fired him. And ever since then, he has blown the whistle on what he knows to be wrong. And he knows that he is right about it. And he has been fearless, and he's written a series of letters to the governor of Connecticut, recently re-elected, Governor John G. Rowland, R-O-W-L-A-N-D. And guess what happened? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to tell me what happened. That's right. He got arrested. He knows too much. And he's telling people. And so Book writes to Rowland, if I had not sent to you my letters of October 23rd, 27th, and October 31st, which I reported to you on TV last week, and November 6th, would I not have been arrested on November 12th? What's your answer? I heard you. Yes. Yes. If he'd not blown the whistle, he would not have been arrested. Okay, what was he arrested for? Well, he owns a limousine company, and he had some bad drivers, and they did bad performance, and they did things that they shouldn't have. And so he withheld their pay, a small amount, like $1,000. And he made a record of this with the Connecticut State Department of Labor, and he was completely above board about the whole thing. He wrote out the case, wrote out his side of it, he wrote out their side of it. And he says they did not follow state procedure in coming to see him, and he answered all the questions. He accuses them of hiring a couple of goons to come in to scare him and tell him that he was going to be arrested, and then a Bridgeport policeman came and told him was to be arrested, and the Bridgeport policeman is a brother of somebody in the courts. And they came and arrested him and put up a $10,000 bail, took him to the police station, put him in jail, made him come up with $10,000. Sounds to me a whole lot like the Bruiser Ken horror. The anti-government. Only this is state, not federal. To be continued. Ethan Book, Jr. The pro se clerk covered up for, I think it was McCasey. McCasey was sued. He violated federal rights. Your guaranteed inalienable federal rights. Glendora sued McCasey, and McCasey runs away like a fugitive, and when he gets a motion for default judgment, I sued him in some court, either West Virginia or Atlanta. I guess it was Atlanta, the United States District Court in Atlanta, Georgia. And when he gets a motion for default judgment, instead of answering it, now this is a judge. You're telling me that a judge doesn't know what to do with a lawsuit. It's easy what to do with a lawsuit. You answer the charges. And when a motion comes along, you oppose it. And judges don't know that? So McCasey makes believe he is not sued, dumps the papers onto the pro se clerk. The pro se clerk is there to help pro se litigants. But he abuses the pro se office, dumps it onto them, and makes them send back the motion to me saying that they had no record of this case as being filed in their court. Well, naturally, it was filed in the Atlanta court. Now, this is open stupidity, open cheating, open lying, and open theft. So, Glendora takes all of the papers, she puts them inside of this great big envelope, and on the outside of this great big letter, she says, "Pro se clerk, you've been sued. Why are you acting like a fugitive? Don't you know how to handle lawsuits? You answer the complaint and you oppose the motions. A fine person you are to advise pro se litigants. You're making believe that you haven't been sued. It's disgusting. You have acted abominably, abhorrently, this way 20 times. This is the nadir to which your courts have sunk. You will be sued again, and all around you make America look bad." Number 2. Patrick Fisher is the chief clerk of the United States Court of Appeals in the 10th Circuit. Where is the 10th Circuit? In Denver. He violated my rights. He thought he was going to get away with it. But he isn't. Because anybody who violates my rights or your rights gets sued. The first of every month, everybody in the previous month who violated our rights gets sued. These are called omnibus lawsuits. And Patrick Fisher was sued in the United States District Court in Atlanta. And when I wrote a motion to the United States District Court in Atlanta for judgment by default because these goons, McCasey and Fisher and Charles Dolan and 20 others, did not know enough to defend themselves or to appear, I'm entitled to judgment by default. What did Patrick Fisher do? He makes believe he isn't sued. This is the practice of federal courts. They make believe they aren't sued. They make believe they're above the law. They make believe they're not like you and me. They make believe that it never happened. Well, we have a great big letter for the whole public to see from here to Denver. December 2nd, 2002, Anno Domini, Patrick Fisher, you have been sued. Doesn't a chief clerk know how to handle a legal paper? You answer the complaint. You oppose the motions. You don't run away like a fugitive. You look foolish. You make America look bad. Stop pretending that you haven't been sued. Yours in truth, Glendora. Number 3. December 2nd, 2002, Anno Domini. Would you believe that the chief judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the 9th Circuit in San Francisco stoops to the same mechanisms? Would you believe it? Well, she does. Her name is Schroeder. Mary Schroeder. Her chief clerk is Kathy Catterson, and a couple of flunkies are Christine Hill and Gwen Baptista. What do? They made believe that Glendora's motion for default judgment, oh, this is an appellant's brief, excuse me. They made believe that Glendora's case, that Glendora was dumb enough to file the case in San Francisco. It was not filed in San Francisco. It was filed in Richmond, Virginia. And when Glendora's appellant's brief comes along, instead of writing an appellee's brief, Glendora's made them into appellees. They're common criminals. Not common criminals, but common lawbreakers. And so they send it down to these clerks, and these clerks send it back to Glendora. So Glendora takes this great big poster card, makes it into a big envelope, and stuffs in all of the papers that they boomeranged, kangaroo court that they are. And Glendora writes, Schroeder, Catterson, Hill, and Baptista, you've been sued. Are you so unfamiliar with how to handle a lawsuit that you don't know you answer the complaint, you oppose the motions, and you file an appellee's brief? These people are in the courts. They don't know how to do that. And you do this in the Fourth Circuit? Atlanta. You don't try to make believe you have not been sued. You don't run away like a fugitive. You make America look bad, and you make fools of yourselves. Yours in truth, Glendora. Isn't this grim? So, I have to tell you some jokes. And I have to remember what jokes I told you last week, and the week before, and the week before, to make sure you get new jokes. I know one of them. The customer said to the waitress, what kind of ice cream do you have? And the waitress said, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. And the customer says, you sound hoarse. Do you have laryngitis? And the waitress says, no, just vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. I have a hard time getting out of this chair. It's not because I'm so old, it's because it's so comfortable. Okay. What do report cards teach a mother and father? What do report cards teach a mother and father? You don't have to lift weights to raise dumbbells. And why was the little shoe crying? His mother was a sneak and his daddy was a loafer. Why did the mother call her son Halley's Comet? Because the sun only came around every 72 years. And the woman in the taxi cab said, driver, can you back up 2 miles? Why? I don't have enough money to pay for this. A woman going down the street looked into the window of the haberdasher store, and it had a sign, and it said, sale on shirts for men with 15 to 16 necks. And she said, that's too many necks for a man to have. A honeymoon couple came home, and he said, dear, we have to settle down to business now. Do you want to be the president or the vice president? And she said, you can be both, dear. I'll just be the treasurer. The teacher said to Billy, how do you spell rose? And Billy said, B-R-O-S-E. The teacher says, there's no B in rose. And Billy said, there wasn't the one that I smelled. A man called up the city editor of the newspaper and he said, you put my name in the obituary column. I'm still alive. And the city editor was truly penitent. And he really honestly tried to think of a solution. And he said, I know. Tomorrow morning we'll put you in the birth column. And the mother wanted to do an errand in a store, and she asked two elderly ladies to take care of her little daughter for 15 minutes. And as the elderly ladies and the little girl sat in the room together, one lady said, "She's not very P-R-E-T-T-Y, is she?" And the little girl says, "No, but very S-M-A-R-T." This is Glendora, Chat with Glendora. I have one more legal paper to read to you. And again, this is Empire Medicare, the agent for Medicare up here in this area. And I have no complaint against Medicare. I have a concern about Medicare, that when these doctors with dollar signs in their eyes found every device they could to fake a huge bill, something like $60,000 over nothing, Medicare paid for like $58,000 of it. Now folks, there's not going to be any Medicare left for you people. When you get as old as I am, I'm 74, Franklin's 83, when you get as old as we are, Medicare is going to be busted. They're going to be insolvent. They're going to be destitute. With the way these doctors now and hospitals now are absconding with the Medicare insurance funds. So I didn't get any bills from the doctors or the ambulance company or the hospital this last time that we went to the post office November 27th. But we did get 2 notices from Medicare. They're going to be insolvent. They're going to be destitute. With the way these doctors now and hospitals now are absconding with the Medicare insurance funds. So I didn't get any bills from the doctors or the ambulance company or the hospital this last time that we went to the post office November 27th. But we did get 2 notices from Medicare. This is our letter, says Glendora, Empire Medical Services, Peekskill, New York. This is our letter. That's the hometown of Peekskill, Pataki. This is our letter, number 5, on the medical greed and ripoff, victimizing Franklin Buell. Helen Hardew, thank you for your letter of November 18th. It was nice, and we appreciate it, but we do not understand the point you are making. 3, you choose to say heart episode, quote unquote. Well, all right, we say, but it was necessary that day for Franklin to go to the hospital. We say it was not. As stated more than once in previous letters, 4 of them, we only wanted a doctor contact to stay an autopsy so that our bodies could go to the New York Medical College. If you don't say a doctor, if you don't have a doctor to say these people died of natural causes or whatever, then evil people bring in suspicions, and then they have to have an autopsy, and if you have an autopsy on a body, it's no good to a medical college. So that's all we wanted, to make a doctor contact so the doctor at the time of death could say, this, you know, that's nothing suspicious. Further, folks, we did not give our consent. Upon information and belief, Franklin would have been okay if taken home on August 16th, put under his favorite pine tree, given ice packs and iced tea, and rest and sleep. It was 97 degrees that day. He was victimized by a physician's assistant named Ralph Gargiulio at Hopewell Medical. Don't go to Hopewell Medical. And he would have been okay. And even if he had to be taken to the hospital, he was well enough for me to drive him to the hospital. There's no need of paying $600 to an ambulance to go 10 miles. Is that greed or isn't it greed? And he did not have chest pains, as the ambulance crew tried to maintain. There were no chest pains. And he was not in danger. And Glendora could have driven him to the hospital. And the entire act was medical ripoff, orchestrated hysteria, and motivated by greed. Franklin was kidnapped. So look, folks, we go through their charges. The doctors have sent Medicare these charges, outrageous charges. Good Lord, outrageous. And so we go through each one of them, and it says, help stop fraud. Beware of telemarketers who or advertisements offering free or discounted Medicare items and services. And Glendora says, beware of the ripoff of doctors and hospitals. And this is a summary of claims processed from October the 9th to November the 8th. Part B, Medicare. Claims. Here we have a claim from somebody named Dr. Yen, Y-E-N, and folks, we never met him. And he wants Medicare to pay $132 for him. For what? Exam, back, something. I don't know the man. Franklin doesn't know the man. Do you remember having your back examined, Franklin? Franklin said no. Hudson Valley Radiology, a doctor Goldstein. And what's he charging for? Bone imaging. There was nothing wrong with Franklin's bones. There was nothing wrong with him anyway. It was phony enough to put in a pacemaker and puncture Franklin's lung when they did it. And so Dr. Goldstein wants to grab $210 from Medicare. And the Taconic cardiothoracic something in Poughkeepsie, Dr. James Scaduto. Well, Scaduto did come to see Franklin several times. But this Zachow, we never met him. And they want $750 to insert a chest tube because Dr. Philbin, when he put in the pacemaker, punctured the lung. So we say next time, don't pierce the lung, inserting a pacemaker. You pierce the lung, so you pay for the chest tube. And the taconic cardiothoracic again, Zachow again, through Scaduto, for initial inpatient consultation. And what do? They have to get paid for this, and they want $500 for this? Is this greed or isn't it greed? And we have no recollection of ever having met a Zachow. Did you meet a Dr. Zachow, Franklin? He says not to acknowledge. And I didn't either. And these folks again, taconic cardiothoracic, Dr. Chaburi, and we never met him. And for subsequent hospital care, for what, we'd like to know, and he wants $125. I want to thank Robert Weiser in Hopewell Junction. He reports to me on a chat with Glendora if it's being cablecast Thursday nights at 10 p.m. on the so-called Wappingers cable TV system, which includes many, many towns. It's a very big signal. It's flat on its back now because Dolan fired everybody. He put some money in his pocket instead of paying a payroll. He fired everybody, and it's no good anymore. Of course, they can't fire public access. That's by federal, state, and municipal law. Now it says here about appealing. We request an appeal, but not of anything that Medicare has done wrong. We don't like seeing Medicare ripped off for 60 grand. There won't be anything left for the next generation. Yes, we want itemized statements from all three. We want itemized statements from doctors, from the hospitals, and from the ambulance. And consider this request made herein. And then over here it says circle the items you disagree with and explain why you disagree, and we disagree with all of them as all three statements that you have sent us. On all three statements you have sent us. Send this notice or a copy to the address in the customer service information. And we forgot to sign this, Franklin. I hope they'll take it as an appeal anyway because we signed the letter. And we say we want the appeal. Now on the back is some information, folks. Medicare Part B medical insurance. You know what it pays for? It pays for doctor services, diagnostic tests, ambulance services, durable medical equipment, and other health care services. Thank you. Medicare assignment. Medicare Part B claims may be assigned or unassigned. Okay, that's all right. Doctors who submit unassigned claims have not agreed to accept Medicare's approved amount as payment in full, so you might be billed for more. Your responsibility. The amount in the you may be billed column is your share of costs for the services shown on this notice. You are responsible for an annual deductible of $100 and for co-insurance 20%. Folks, did you hear about the couple that got married so late in life that Medicare picked up 80% of the honeymoon? And when other insurance pays for us, that's not applicable to us because we don't have any other insurance except what the state of New York makes us have and that's on the 1993 Lincoln. And that's not necessary. We never made a claim in 50 years of marriage. We made one tiny claim, the windshield, a stress crack in the windshield of the 1956 Dodge. And that was way back in, I would say, 1958 or 9. And in 50 years, we paid all that car insurance, like $1,000 a year or more. Help stop Medicare fraud. I'll say, that's why I'm reporting this to you. I think that what these doctors did to Franklin is fraud. And the ambulance and the hospital. I think that is fraud. But it's very serious fraud because you're the ones who are going to be injured by it. All of these trumped up charges herein are fraud. And now you can have insurance, counseling, and assistance. No thanks. We'll get along without that. And here's a Harju's letter. And I say that the relevance escapes us. What are you saying? But we thank you for writing us. And we ask him, do you watch A Chat with Glendora on Yorktown Cable System, 6:30 p.m. Thursdays, or on Peekskill System, 9 p.m. Saturday, or on the City of Poughkeepsie Time Warner System at 3:30 p.m. Tuesdays, or on Wappinger System at 10 p.m. Thursdays. And about 30 other cable TV systems in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Oregon, and New Mexico. And here's a list of the doctors. And I check off the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 we met, and the other 15 we never met or ever saw. What is this world coming to? And Philbin's name is not on here. Service list and prayer list. Hudson Valley Critical Care, Vassar Hospital, Slope Willen Ambulance. They're willing, but we weren't. Empire Medical, Kalkari, he's the owner of Hopewell Medical, down on Route 376. Hudson Valley Urology, that's Dr. Shah, who tried to con Franklin into a kidney failure. And I know fully well Franklin does not have one. And I kept saying to him, no sale. But he got out a few bills anyway. To the Center for Judicial Accountability, and to you, the all-important Glendora TV audience, and to who to sue. Not suing them yet. They're not going to be sued in Omnibus 14. Omnibus 14 started out to be the omnibus lawsuit that should have begun on November 1st. And it was almost ready to go out. And then all these crooks came along. The Second Circuit, the Third Circuit, the 10th Circuit. And so they have to be sued. And then Charles Dolan and Daniel P. Saccone came along and violated a public access right. And the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco. They all have to be brought to a court of law. Trouble is, we don't have a court of law. They have to be brought to a court of justice. Trouble is, we don't have any courts of justice. But we still have to go through the process. We still have to make the record. And this Omnibus 14 lawsuit is almost unmanageable because you have to incorporate in it Omnibus 13, Atlanta, Omnibus 11, Charleston, West Virginia, Omnibus 10, Cleveland, District Court. All of the people that broke the laws and were let go by crooked judges have to be sued all over again, adding the judges themselves as defendants. So it's going to be almost unmanageable. The worst one yet. And then the 8th Circuit, a chief judge there named Hansen, when you complain about a judge, and they always cover up the judge's name. That in itself is crooked. So he writes to me that that's the law, that nobody can say what the name of the judge is that you're complaining about. And it looks like he's going to try to go after me on that. I think that'd make a great lawsuit. What do you think, the American public? What do you think? Glendora TV audience, what do you think of that? That a judge does bad things, a citizen complains, and they cover up the judge's name, and it's against the law for you to reveal who it is? What do you think of that here in America? So we're working on him. His name is Hanson. And then I'm writing a letter to Charles Dolan that I'll have to finish and read to you. And the Philadelphia Third Circuit. Oh, this is a great one. I'm not even going to tell you that because it'll spoil the suspense. You just got to hear that whole thing. That's really good. Out of bad comes good. And I think that's it. So you know what time it is and what day it is. That's all on the graphics. We shouldn't be in the middle of the screen. I don't know why you did that, Canon. I've told you I'm going to take back the Sony camera. $425 camcorder. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to stay with my old Canon here, 3 years old, because it does have a remote control. Let's see what happens when you push the zoom. It's fantastic, and the new ones don't have this. Here we are supposed to be advancing the technology, and they don't have it. And we bought the battery for this one, 2.5 hours. The bad feature about this Canon is that every time you take the battery out and put the new bat and charge it and put it back in, you have to put up the graphics again. But at least Sony knew enough to put the graphics in the bottom third of the screen. I don't know why Canon put them right across the middle. Cover up my face. I guess that's a good reason. So this is it. We're going on errands now. It's a perfect, perfect fall day. 3 weeks from winter. And in 3 weeks, the daylight will start getting longer. These dark days of November are tough to take. But we're grateful for them. Good or bad, we're grateful for every day. We love you. We bless you. We remind you that it's God's universe. And if you look at it right, everything is good. Now what would you think, Franklin, if we didn't get all this and we had to do it all over again? Awful. Wouldn't that be awful? Okay. Unwired. Okay. I'll have to go out and feed him another loaf and a half. I'll give you some more. You sit right up for your picture, don't you? And you came way across the parking lot just to see me.
Sit on him. Sit. Yes.
What a sweet little doggy. What kind of a doggy is she?
She's a schnoodle.
A schnoodle?
Yeah, it's a mixture between a poodle and a schnauzer. And they're really, really...
Pia! Pia, we love you.
She says, I love everybody, too.
Yes. There's the Twin Mountains, folks. It's December, folks. In 17 days, a little over 2.5 weeks, the daylight will start getting longer. You know, folks, when I went to the Congregational Church for the first time, the Reverend Christopher Boyd said, "Is there anybody here for the first time?" And so I stood, and I said I was, and he came from the pulpit down the aisle to the pew and shook my hand and welcomed me. And then from the other direction, from the narthex, came a woman with a candle wrapped in present type fashion. And I brought the candle home to Franklin. We burned it that afternoon, and it was a good feeling. It gave a nice glow. And so I said, gee, I'll get out the candles that we have in reserve in case we lose electricity, and I'll burn some of those. I think it's very nice, and it gives so much light. In fact, the camcorder thinks this is good light. I turned in the $425 Sony camera, and Walmart is phenomenal about their return policy. And because it was paid with a debit card, they chose, for my sake, to give me back cash. They gave me cash right out of the cash register. Because they said if they tried to go through MasterCard, it might take a long time for them to correct it. So this was the best way to do it. Isn't that nice of Walmart? We didn't spend much at Walmart, see, maybe only a couple $100. Many days it's $500. You can't beat it. Can't beat Walmart. And Franklin got along okay with a cold. Neither the 1980 Lincoln would start, nor the 1993 Lincoln. That's why you have two Lincolns, so you have one to boost the other one. And then neither of them would start. And I think it was because last night it was 6 degrees. Yeah. And Katie says, it's time for you to give me my breakfast. Yes, I want my breakfast, and I want the new things you brought me yesterday. Now take, now contrast Walmart to A&P. 3 boxes of cat food and a small jar of mayonnaise, $8. I cannot stand A&P. I cannot stand these rip-off food markets. Beautiful store, but I just can't stand the way they rip people off. Katie likes that blue rug. Katie, look, I bought you a new rope to play the string game with. There's a joke about that, right, folks? 3 ropes were walking down the street. head waiter says, "Hey, aren't you ropes? We don't serve ropes in here. You'll have to leave." And out on the sidewalk, one rope was very, very angry. He tousled both of his ends. He tied himself into the knot. And he went back into the restaurant, Katie. And he sat down and he's ordering. And the... don't do that, please, Katie. Do not do that, please. And he's ordering. And the head waiter says, "Hey, wait a minute. Aren't you a rope?" And he said, "I'm afraid not." That package is so hard to open. Oh, look. Here comes reinforcements. Here, Kate, are you getting ready for the rope? Here it is, Kate. Look at that. Oh, you like it, huh, Kate? It's a good rope, huh, Kate? It's nice and soft, Kate, the way we like them. Okay, Kate, you win. What do you think of it, Penny? Kate likes it. It's too hard holding the camera and playing with a cat. But that's good. It's conclusive. Katie likes it. And maybe Penny will. Penny liked it too. I can play with them at both ends. Burn the candle at both ends. Now, guess what, folks? There wasn't any 8.5 by 11, any number 10 envelopes, or any 9 by 12 envelopes. There was no first class mail. There was only the media mail. It looks like 4 cable systems returned their tapes. Let's see who gets gold stars for running a good public access operation. Okay, first gold star goes to Paula Plant at Rockland Cable TV. He's always done a good job. He gets an A. He gets an A. This is good. This is like this is Great Neck. Shirley Bruno and her people get an A. They've always been good about returning tapes. That's our postage. $1.84. That's what you can send back for VHS. Well, this is what a chat with Glendora looks like. And this is what it's cablecast from. Now, what does Great Neck mean? The wrong program sent. Wrong program sent. These are good. These are October. And November, but it was wrong to send back October 5th. Because that's today. And it should be playing today. Why is it here? Okay, we'll have to send that back to him. Oh, Carrie Crams. Okay. You only get a B, Carrie. You sent these to White Plains. And then White Plains forwarded them to Maine. That cost $1.84. And Carrie, you should have sent them to Hopewell Junction. Because I sent you $1.84 to send them to Hopewell Junction. You sent them to White Plains, and when they went to White Plains charged me another $1.84. So you get a B for returning the tapes, and you got a good record for returning the tapes. But Carrie, It's Hopewell, not White Plains. Saved our money, $2. These envelopes.